Hey everyone, and welcome to the Retention Edge podcast. I'm Nihal, head of growth here at MobileOut, and this is a podcast where we talk to the folks shaping great customer experiences in e-commerce and retail, from marketers and CX professionals to merchandisers and designers. We're really interested in the strategies and ideas that keep customers engaged and coming back. Uh, Today we have with us Henry Martinez, head of design director at Mack Weldon. Welcome to the show, Henry. Thank you so much for coming on.
Andy, all great to speak to you again. And yeah, I'm excited to chat about CX and all things design creative. And yeah, it's great to be here.
Awesome. I guess just to kick things off, Henry, it would be great. Oh my God, my camera. It'd be great to get a bit of background on you, what you're kind of working on at Mack Weldon, and maybe even a bit of your background in with this
Yeah,
session. Yeah.
yeah, sure. So I'm head of design director at Mack Weldon, a New York-based retail and fashion company. We are primarily menswear, but my background is it's working in product development and design for over almost the last 15 years in New York City. So, started my career with an internship at Gucci, and then I kind of started working. I worked at Club Monaco, a Toronto
On a staple.
favorite, Toronto staple. That's right,
Yeah.
and then moved on to Ralph Lauren for a bit, and then I worked at a menswear brand called Todd Snyder, a New York-based company, and worked on design development for a champion collaboration that's still long running. And then I went off to another brand called Good Life Clothing, and I was there for about 6 years. And I'm now head of design at Mack Weldon, and I've been with this brand. The role's fairly new for me. I've been with the brand for about almost 8 months, but it's a really great experience. Yeah, it's I'm working on designing different categories, everything from underwear, sweatshirts, t-shirts, woven shirts, trousers to bags, you name it. So everything that you see on the site, my hands have touched in some way.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, no, it's a really great experience, really great brand. And it's the brand's primarily direct to consumer, so primarily online first. Then we have a couple of stores around the US, one in New York City and one in Boston as well, but primarily online, and the brand can be bought from anywhere in the world. So um everyone's welcome.
No, that's fantastic. And I suppose with Mack Weldon, what drew you to the brand when it seems like it's a fairly new role. What kind of pulled
Yeah,
you in? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'd been following. They're sort of in the space that I'd kind of been working in terms of like, I'd worked at kind of similar competitive brands, and so it's a brand that I'd always looked toward and kind of looked to see what was going on, what they were doing, and I always really admired the brand. And the brand's been around for almost 12 years, and within that time, yeah, I've just seen the brand grow. And yeah, they literally posted a role on LinkedIn, and I applied for it, and someone contacted me, and then we went from there. And in a period of about 2 months, I landed the role and started at the company. And it's been great. I really enjoy it. It's what I enjoy most about it is that it's a really great collaborative team, but also I'm working on a breadth of product that a lot of times at larger companies, we're kind of consider ourselves a startup. We're about 45 people at the corporate office, and then including our retail teams as well. So I'm working on more categories than I might be at a larger company. Usually at a larger company, you're kind of siloed to a particular category, whether it's just underwear, just shirts, or maybe even just pants. So it's really cool to kind of have my hands on a little bit of everything. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
No, that sounds great. And uh, is there a particular product in Max Line currently that you're like really happy about having your
Yeah.
hands on? Yeah.
So yeah, my first full season will launch in September, which is Q3 of
Congrats.
2025. So yeah, but I'm really excited about our underwear. I think our underwear are really strong, and that's kind of where the brand started. So it's really just trying to continue that heritage and that legacy that the brand has with underwear. But really, what I'm also excited about is we're kind of relooking at our apparel so that everything non underwear and accessories like shirts, like pants, and kind of how we can make reinvent those programs. And I'm really excited to see those things begin to launch at the end of 2025. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's really great. And I think something we were discussing shortly before we started talking is with what we do, for example, mobile apps, it's really about a core customer channel or touch point that, it's a digital channel that a customer comes in and engages with the brand through. And when you talk about, CX marketers, retention marketers, a lot of us are like very numbers driven, right? Okay, hey, we launched this campaign, we launched this program, and what's our ROI on the other side? But I find that a maybe an underrated part of retention and loyalty ultimately is the product and the product design and how it makes customers feel about being associated with your brand. So you've been designing menswear for, I guess, 15 plus years, give or take now.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious how you think that the shift towards D2C and ecom in how people shop with brands, engage with brands, kind of changes how you have to think about product design's role in the overall customer experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed dramatically since I started in the industry and the clothing and fashion industry. I mean, when I started, it was very traditional. The approach was really traditional. You would design particularly for, before even websites existed. I remember my first job at Club Monaco, we didn't even have a website yet. It was the year that I started, we were launching the website. So, and the idea initially was we weren't even sure if it was going to be a functional website or just sort of a lookbook where you could actually, even the idea of shopping online was really, 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 really novel, and people were unsure about it. I mean, it sounds so strange thinking about that now because it's so commonplace. But yeah, and the approach was really, really traditional. You would design a line, you would either have your own stores or you would design for department stores, right? So you'd create a line, have buyers come in, and then they would actually pick things off the line, and then that's how you sold product. Or you were, direct to your own stores. But now, I mean, with the advent of DTC brands, internet brands and internet shopping becoming so commonplace, the approach is completely different. I mean, at Mack Weldon, we're a direct consumer brand first, right? So we do have two stores, but we are primarily trying to target customers online, right? So the approach is different. You sort of have to think about how the product looks online, and how, something that I really, really focus on at Mack Weldon is we focus on texture and how those things can translate online, because, you can have a blue, just gonna make it up, but you can have a pair of underwear, but if it doesn't have something that's like, a texture or some sort of attribute that's really visually attractive or something you can, story tell, it can just get lost in the mix, right? And it can just become any other product. So looking at, those sort of things and really shooting them so that you can, and when we shoot on for example, photo shoots, we just had one yesterday and we were shooting our spring summer campaign. We shoot so that things can be looked at and viewed both on mobile and online, and we, things have to be cropped a certain way so that they look good on Instagram, but also on your phone and also on your laptop. So, those things are really, really important. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it definitely does. And I'd imagine even when it comes to things like color grading or like making sure that it's very accurate for the end consumer is something that you take into consideration even during your photo shoots.
Yeah, of course. Because even when you're designing a product or a line, you can create a color palette, and and then you do it in different fabrications. You've got to make sure that those colors actually look good in person in real life, but also translate online. So there could be color retouching and that sort of thing to making sure those things happen, because things with lighting and things can change how things look and saturation. So all those things are really, really important. Ultimately, the product needs to be great in terms of quality, but it also needs to look well and translate online in all channels, whether it's on the website, on Instagram, on Facebook, on whether you're doing email campaigns and all of those things, So
no, and I think it really speaks to the role of product ultimately in defining a brand's experience, because you could have an amazing shopping experience, but if the product at the end of the day doesn't quite hit the mark, you're kind of devaluing what the brand stands for at the end of the day, right? And I find that loyal customers ultimately are willing to forgive shortcomings on even like call it shopping experience if the product kicks ass, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The product's got to be good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of a basic now, and if the product isn't good, and also, I mean, it's not just about good product, but you also have to have, we really think about consistency and storytelling and making sure that that story or that message is consistent throughout the year, right? So it's not, we're not designing a line and then completely, 360 changing it over the next season so that a customer's confused. You have to, there has to be congruencies within the line, and it's not, I think creative roles or product roles can be really glamorized, but but at the end of the day, they're really, we work really closely cross-functionally with merchants, with marketing, with CX. So, I speak to my marketing team daily, right? Because their feedback on product is really important. Nihal, like you're obviously in marketing and CX, and analytics and numbers are really important. And for me to get that feedback is really important too, because if I then you can end up designing in a silo and not actually know what's working and not working. So it's like, in some ways, that kind of gives a bit of structure, and it gives a bit of, it offers some guidance and also some limitations so that you can design a line or design a collection within a particular framework that works for your customer, because that feedback is really, and those analytics are really, really detailed, so it's really a strength, something that probably didn't exist 20 years ago, and how you approached a line or designed a line now is just so much more, can be so much more targeted and so much more specific. Because ultimately we're really trying to make sure that our guy is getting the product that's right for him. And,
Mhm.
so yes, it's a group effort, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not just me in a corner sketching a couple of things and adding some color. It's a it's a big undertaking, but ultimately it's really exciting.
Because I think there's like really something about this um, nice augmentation that I think creative teams now have, where while limitations, like you mentioned, can sometimes feel, like a bottleneck to what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day, it does reframe everything around the customer. And what does the
Yeah.
customer want? And how can we design the product they want, even if it's not the product I want, right? In a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I think this, whether it's physical product or even the digital experience, right? I talked to some of my web design friends, and they always have this running joke that a lot of designers design websites for other designers and not for a
Yeah.
customer at the end of the day, right? And I'd imagine in fashion sometimes that is also a theme that sometimes happens. And this kind of
Yeah.
fast feedback loop that I think D2C and ecom has enabled brands to get is like really, really valuable, because you're basically getting a line to your best customers. They're letting you know, hey, I love this, I hate this, do better. And you're able to take that and action on it, right? Which
Right.
is fantastic. Yeah.
Right. We have real numbers by color, by size, like what's working, what's not. And so, yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned web designers, but I think it can work really similarly with product or fashion designers as well. You can design for other designers or design for yourself. And I think, the job of a designer, creative in any sort of industry is to kind of push a bit, and be, think outside the lines. But it's that sort of guidance and scope we're getting from our marketing team is, I don't view it as a limitation or as something negative. In fact, it just actually makes your design approach more focused, you know, and then you can actually be a bit more cohesive and a bit more congruent with what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think this kind of feeds nicely into, maybe this next question around, there's the product, and we've talked about the product a little bit, but considering your role and the fact that what you do is probably quite cross-functional,
Yeah.
um, how would you say that you and your team are really thinking about the full customer journey, say from point of discovery to purchase, and then to long-term retention?
Yeah, I mean, so we were really thinking about things as, from the start, even before we're even approaching color or fabric, we're thinking about what is comfortable. We're thinking about intentional fit, in terms of how the product's going to fit, um, what the customer, what's working for the customer already, right? We have our merchants and our planners come to us and say, look, these things are working. We need to revamp this. We need new colorways. and or this isn't working, let's kind of redesign this, or completely scrap this and start over with something new. But it's also so you're not always designing like a collection from scratch. You're taking previous data, previous analytics, and that's either, like I said, merchants or marketers, planners, and sometimes, finance will say, look, this is really strong. We've got to, do this, do that. So it's looking at those things, and then, you start thinking about those fabrications, and then that informs. You also go to your fabric developers, and that you see new fabrications, and that informs design sometimes, because you see something new and something innovative, and that informs whether that becomes a jacket or a hoodie or a sweatshirt, or even a new pair of underwear. And then you can design a product, and then you kind of edit it down and make a color palette that kind of works with what you're doing seasonally. Then even things like color palettes are really, really, we really, really take a lot of time to think about those things, because you don't just create a new palette from scratch. You kind of look at your previous season and take some of those colors and integrate them into the new season, so that when you offer new product, and this helps not only the customer kind of keep focused, but also our marketers, our CX people and stuff, you can tell a congruent story, and, you don't have to start from scratch every single time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'd imagine even, with things like sustainability, circular economy, playing a larger role in how people care to engage with brands and look for in the brands they support. I'd imagine from a planning and sourcing perspective, keeping things fairly consistent and changing things gradually over time probably also helps with that whole ethos as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in terms of sustainability, we don't necessarily always shout at Mack Weldon like what is sustainable, what is not, but we do really try to do that, and our customer does really care about that. We have particular feedback. Sometimes our marketing team will send out surveys asking questions to our customers, like, what do you like about this product? What don't you like? And also, does it matter to you that there is sustainability? That this is a recycled polyester or recycled cotton. So that feedback is really important to us. And I think also for us, sustainability also comes in. Sustainability also comes into play because we're looking at making quality products that last, right? So you don't have to keep cycling through product and buying a new pair of underwear every few weeks, or a t-shirt every few weeks, because it falls apart, right? And so we want to make things that last, and also that helps outside of the environmental standpoint. It's just, it offers sustainability in terms of a customer wanting to come back, right? And if they buy quality, the product lasts, they will come back, and that's really when you're successful, right? It's great. It's easy to have a customer engage once, but to have repeat engagement is kind of the goal, right? And,
and I think that kind of speaks to, going back to product quality, but also deepening that connection with the customer. Because here, the product speaks to them, not just at hey, this is a great quality product, but in many ways, it also aligns with who I am as a shopper. And you're kind of giving me a reason to almost stand for your brand, right? I go tell my friends, hey, you need new underwear, go to Mack Weldon, right? They're great.
Right. Yeah, because emails, social is all really important, but word of mouth is still really important as well, right? So you're at a barbecue for over the weekend, you talk to your friends, they ask you about your hoodie, and then you kind of engage with them, and then that can translate into sales for the future. So all those things are really important, and you can only do that when a customer is satisfied. They see themselves identified in the product, and they value what you stand for, and the quality that you're offering. So, and then that we even think about that in terms of how we cast our models, right? We want to have models that are casted, different people, different body types, so that we're making, our company really stands for making comfortable classic clothing. So that kind of should work for everyone, right? There isn't sort of, we're not trying to kind of target a particular demographic. That can be a lot of guys. So, we want everyone to see themselves in the product. And I think you can do that while still being specific with your product offering and how you market your product.
Would you say there's call it USP or marketing message that you currently go out with that you personally enjoy when you talk about Mack Weldon?
Yeah, I mean, one of our core pillars we have at the company, sort of internally, we have this sort of core pillars that we just kind of keep for ourselves to kind of make sure that the brand integrity and message and design, remain focused. But comfort, you'll see a lot of our campaigns, a lot of our, emails, social talks about comfort first. So we want to make great quality classic clothing. That sometimes can be a little cool, little fashionable, have a little bit of novelty, but comfort comes first, right? So that to me really resonates with our customers, but it also just personally resonates with me. I'm not going to wear something anymore unless it's really comfortable,
Of
and you can
course.
keep, especially post pandemic. I think that we all want to look good, but you don't want to feel like you're walking around with a stiff suit on always. And so, everything can be comfortable nowadays in terms of, there's fabric innovation technology that can do that. I'm wearing right now one of our tech merino sweaters, and the merino is lycra plated or like spandex plated, so that it just like it offers you more movement and there's more recovery, and it's just it's something like a fabric that used to be really stiff and very like targeted just for professional wear, right? It was very formal, but this merino sweater feels like a sweatshirt, and I think
That's great.
that's what guys want, that's what I want.
Absolutely. Um, and when it comes to digital touch points, I suppose you mentioned this a little bit earlier, where brands are usually meeting customers where they are, whether it's a website, socials, if they have a mobile app, in their mobile app. And you touched on this a little bit around your photo shoots. But from a product design perspective, uh, are there certain considerations you have to make when trying to think, how do I make this feel cohesive and someone is getting the expected experience, whether they engage with us online or whether they're, touching and experiencing our products in store?
Right, right. Yeah, because those are two different things, right? I think
Yeah.
it is probably a little easier to kind of translate that message or that sort of idea or intention in store, right? Because the customer's looking, feeling, touching, speaking to store associates that can maybe offer them product knowledge and that sort of thing. But online, typically a person is shopping by themselves, right? You're either on your phone alone or on your computer alone. So, one thing that's super important to me is like the texture of a fabric, right? Like for example, we're offering some new t-shirts this fall that are like this cotton slub texture, right? And that slub texture is really important because you can really, really zoom in online and create these and so that you can even see that sort of texture, whether you're on your phone or on the website, and that product hasn't launched yet, so a little spoiler alert, but
I can edit it out
yeah,
if needed.
no, you don't need to edit that
Yeah.
out. But yeah, just like those kind of things are really, really important, right? Where you place your logos, for example, or hang tags are really important because it needs to be shot a certain way for online, right? And also, if you're putting logos in places where they get hidden and then you can't see them on a phone, it's so all of those things are taken into consideration when designing product. It's not just it's where those hang tags go, where those labels go, and a lot of that, for example, some of that literature will go on an email, right? And then if you engage and you buy the product, you'll actually see some of that info on the hang tag as well. So you're constantly sort of offering the customer information, and giving them a reason for their purchase,
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of reasons for purchase, I noticed, on Mack Weldon, for example, you do have a rewards program. I imagine you try to give, call it your more loyal customers, maybe a slightly unique or, incentives to keep them excited about your brand. Um, from from the design and creative standpoint, are you ever thinking about dropping lines or special products for, call it, specific customers, or do you try to keep your philosophy a bit more open where you don't really want to play this, exclusive or exclusive drop kind of game that, maybe streetwear brands, for example, tend to employ?
Yeah, I think at our brand at Mack Weldon, we're a bit more inclusive in that regard and don't really subscribe to the sort of like streetwear drop mentality where look, it works. And I think and I can appreciate what those brands do. And some of those brands are really cool. And, but we really just want to approach product offering it to everyone and offering it to everyone at the same time, right?
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of what we do, what the luxury that we've got as a direct consumer brand first is that we're kind of working from a product and design perspective on our own timelines. So we can take a year and a half to launch a product. And because if we're not happy with it, we won't release it. So what we do that a lot of companies, I'm not saying that most companies don't do, but it's not necessarily commonplace, is that before we actually even place a purchase order, we will make a size set and pass it around the office. So everybody, not necessarily everyone, but people of every, size and height and whatever will try it on to get feedback. And then we'll sometimes make adjustments that need to be made to before we put that product out. But yeah, in terms of exclusivity, not so much. We're kind of okay with everyone getting the product at the same
No,
time. I think
which is great.
it's only fair,
Yeah.
I don't think we're
Makes
ever going
sense.
to make people wait in line for our product. They can come in our store and yeah, we're not
No,
going
no
to
special
shun them
Mack
away.
Weldon underwear drop.
No, no,
It could work.
not right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
potentially, right?
Yeah.
But our
I
store staff is going to be really friendly and nice to people.
yeah.
They're not going to like shoo them away and be too cool.
No, that's great. And I noticed you also do, like a pack builder, and I think I've seen this across, other brands like True Classic and a few others. And
Yeah,
from my understanding, that tends to be a pretty powerful way of just getting people to say make a multi-purchase order.
yeah.
Um, do you have any hand when kind of thinking about and designing those packs? And
Yeah, I mean, ultimately our sort of more marketing or finance team will kind of say we need a bundle of this and not, or pack of this and that.
Mhm.
But yeah, for example, with like some of our underwear sock packs, like that we design and sell in a pack. Yeah, I definitely have a hand in sort of you know, coming up with what those colorways are. For example, if we're going to do like a sock that's two, heather grays in a pack, or we switch it up and do like a heather gray and a navy or that sort of thing. But yeah, those bundles or packs are really important, right? I mean, it's easier shopping for the customer because once he knows he likes something, he can just kind of reorder. But also, yeah, it also helps with your total order, right? Total order value. So it's really really helpful from the business side as well. But I think it's just for example, our Ace sweatpant is something that we this year's our 10-year anniversary. It's like one of our um, one of our strongest products. And so we offer that in a bundle, right? Because we know our guy, he's worn his for a couple years. He wants to replace the same color, or he just wants to keep buying new colorways, right? And so, yeah, those things are really, really helpful for customers, but also for the brand.
that makes sense. And I guess in terms of product design, call it for e-com or just within fashion in
Yeah.
general, what are some things you think will become a bit more important for you as a designer and on the creative side when thinking about customer engagement and retention and designing for, say, the next generation of like Mack Weldon shoppers?
Right. Yeah. Because I think, you can, as a designer or just the brand, you can get stuck in saying that, not necessarily stuck, but sort of really comfortable with saying this is our core demographic. We're going to design for that. But then, people, either grow up or you want to engage with younger people as well. I mean, I think that um, I can't speak for the specifics. We're not necessarily on the marketing team, but I know that our marketing team is really focused on stoppability with things like with social, with
Mhm.
Instagram, making sure that the site functions equally as well on the phone. Um, as it does on the website. Because younger people, right? Yeah, I'd say younger, below 30 are very, very comfortable making all of their purchases on a phone. So, yeah, I think that we're really focusing there to kind of retain, but also gain new customers, right? Younger customers who, yeah, just who are on their phone all day anyway. So,
And you kind of see it with the Carhartt trend too, right? Like
yeah,
historically workwear brand, but now all the cool kids are
right,
rocking their
right,
Carhartt, right?
right. And all those
So
cool kids are buying it on their phone or on Instagram or TikTok, and
it's like, yeah,
you know, yeah.
that's great. And I guess as a designer,
Hmm.
working within, call it a newer wave type of fashion business, what would have been some of your favorite parts of the experience, and maybe some stuff that took a bit of getting used to compared to more traditional design and retail?
Yeah, right. Because I've kind of done both, and sort of the traditional retail versus DTC retail. I think what I like about um, working with a DTC brand is that it's much more collaborative and it's much more cross-functional, and you're working with different departments, different people, really different brains, right? Because we're all trying to sell this product. We're all looking at it from different lenses. So I think I've learned a lot, right? And not just to design for other designers or for creatives. It's like, how do you get the average guy into your product? And for me, yeah, I don't know. I like that kind of cross-functional discussion and those sort of every little component of design at um, our company, I'm talking to other people about. I'm not making really any decisions in a silo. Like literally the color of a woven label. Like we'll talk about it for weeks before we make a decision and making sure the color's right. And we'll ideate on like three different versions of a balloon to make sure that it's right. And a lot of people have a say on that. And yeah, I like that. I think it's you can never make anything 100% perfect, but when you have a lot of different people approaching it, and a lot of different opinions, you can get closer to perfection. So, yeah, I think I prefer it, to be honest.
No, I like that take. I think collaboration is always a good step on the path to, I don't know, better, right?
Yeah, better
Yeah,
anything, right? I mean,
better
whether
anything.
it's product or I don't know, how you buy something, how you approach life.
Absolutely. Uh, so I know we're coming up on time.
Yeah.
So maybe before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to shout out, whether that's Mack Weldon, anything you're doing? Happy to throw that in here.
Yeah. Hi to everyone at the company. I I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Henry. This was fantastic.
Thanks, Neil. It's great talking to you.
Yeah, take care.
Take care.